said, do you need a cab? And I say yes, because I've had such a long day of travel, and I'm thinking this is going to be the one easy thing, and I'm finally going to get to the hotel and I'm going to be good. So we walk outside to where his car is parked, and it's not a yellow cab. That was the big thing then, a yellow cab. It was a blue car. I was so tired. This is 9:15, 9:30 at night. I couldn't tell you if there were any markings on that car. If it said taxi, if it said cab, if it said nothing, I really couldn't tell you. I just thought, I've got a cab. He takes my bag, he puts it in the trunk. I get in the back of the car, he gets in the driver's seat, and we take off. Uber was not a thing. Lyft was not a thing at this time. Mm-hmm. As we're driving and we hit the interstate, I don't even really remember which interstate we were on. There's several around that airport. We hit the interstate. The car starts to have trouble, and it breaks down on the side of the interstate.
What's up, y'all?
This is Beyond 21.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Callie.
And this is Kelly. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. No,
I dropped my slinky.
I'm Kelli Turner.
She's from the True Crime on Easy Street podcast. She's the founding, well, you're the founder of it, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about that if you want me to today, on how that came to be.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt us earlier. What were we talking about? I just felt like it was so good we had to get it
We were
on
talking
air.
about the podcast, and you asked her about the gynecologist.
Oh, yeah, yeah. She listens to the podcast, and we were shook. We didn't know you really listened to it.
I love podcasts. I have a drive to work that is 1 hour one way. So that's how I got into podcasts years ago. Actually, I think all the way back to 2015 is when I actually started listening to true crime podcasts. I became obsessed with them when I finally discovered it. Oh. So I've listened to some funny ones as well. I listened to one called My Dad Wrote a Porno, and it's like these British folks, and they're reading this terrible piece of literature that his father wrote, and I found myself thinking, I can't listen to this and drive. I'm going to wreck.
Was it funny?
Very funny.
Were they like critiquing it?
Oh, yes. And it was the
that would be funny.
Horrible piece of literature I've ever heard, but very funny as well. So I got to have something to break up the seriousness and the toughness of the true crime, so that I like you guys.
Yeah, I got to have a palate cleanser every now and then. Yeah. I'll listen to something, I'll be like, ugh. Be like gross out. Callie don't even listen to them because they don't sit well.
I'm sorry,
with her.
I can't do true crime. It scares me to death.
It's not for everybody.
I can't.
It's really not.
I'll sit at work and type on my computer and listen, and I know a lot of people can't do that, work and listen, but I'll like sit there. I'll binge. I won't listen to y'all's podcast for like weeks, and then I'll binge and I'll hit all 4 of them at once.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It depends on what I'm doing at work, if I can do both.
What do you do?
Not a good multitasker. So at this point in time in my life, I'm now the executive director of an HIV specialty clinic.
So you're not a doctor.
I really am not a doctor. I'm in the admin building, away from all the doctoring type stuff. My degree, I have a master's degree in psychology and a minor in criminology. So I guess you could say that my obsession with true crime and the macabre and all of the things strange began at an earlier age, looking at my college path I chose.
It's kind of come full circle.
Yeah, it really has. So I have a master's degree, not a doctorate.
Hey, one step over me, I tell you that.
So what, first of all, we'll talk about your podcast.
Okay.
So when did y'all, obviously I know, but the listeners don't know when y'all started, when you decided to make a podcast. So give us those details.
So I go back to 2015 when I discovered podcasts, and I listened to them all the time for like 3 years, 3.5 years, I guess. And I keep thinking to myself, I think I could do this. I have a passion for this. I'm fascinated by this. I can do this. but I don't need to do it by myself. I need to have somebody to do it with me. And I knew Scott Wright, who is another one of our hosts,
A talker for sure.
big talker. And I love that about him. He does this radio show, a college football radio show, and I had heard it a few times.
Oh, does he? I was not aware.
Well, he used to. I don't think he still does it, but he used to.
What was it?
Oh, he's gonna kill me for this. I don't remember the name
Please
of it.
tell me it's not 105.1. The
No, it was something that they did from our local radio station, and they used to record it at the pub.
I did not know that.
Thursday nights they did something, but he had a really great radio voice.
Oh, he does. I love his
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
It is satisfying to
it's
listen.
like raspy, but it's clear.
Yes,
You have a good podcast / radio voice too. I think.
Thank
got
you. I appreciate
a
it.
tad bit of rasp in there.
Yeah.
and it's just like perfect.
that's from
Mine's just annoying.
Oh
that's
yeah,
what
me
I-
too.
No, I love no.
Sound like a rat.
Y'all do. Y'all do not. First of all, you both sound very pleasant. You have sweet voices, perfect for what you do. and I
Little do
love it.
y'all know we're not actually as sweet as we sound.
They probably do now.
Ask the husbands.
Yeah, ask the parents. They'll tell you. Ask the bus drivers.
Well, you certainly sound very sweet, and I do
Thank you.
love.
Thank you.
I love your voices. I have just enough of that midlife lady rasp who's been through life and made some decisions. We won't call them good or bad, but that's the kind of voice I tend to project, I guess. And then that mother sound that Scott kind of says I'm the mother of our group. But I fast forward to about 2019, and I'm really wanting to explore doing a podcast. This is late 2019. Actually, no, I'm going to back up. It's earlier in 2019 because I happened upon Scott at the pub here in Center, and he's talking, and he talks a little bit like I do. He's animated, and he's passionate about what he's talking about, gets excited, and he's doing that at the pub. And I sort of just tap him on his shoulder and say, "Hey, Scott, how do you feel? I mean, are you interested in true crime?" And he pauses his conversation long enough to look at me and go, "No." And he turns back around and he keeps talking.
That is shocking to me.
And so I go, okay, that's that. So I table it for several months. It just shuts it down right then. We truck on several more months to the end of 2019. We're at the pub again. Shane is there, and I'm thinking, I want to do a true crime podcast with Scott and with Shane because they bicker like brothers.
yes.
And it's
I love
hilarious. Yes.
We saw them bickering last week when we saw them at Easy Street for lunch.
Yes.
They were bickering back and
Yes,
forth.
constant. But I wanted to also have that journalist input and the lawyer side of everything, the legal side of everything for the serious moments. So I'm talking to Shane about it. And I say, I really want to do this because I want your input. I want the journal side of Scott. And Scott's also there. And he's a little more attentive at this point because I've got Shane in the conversation. And Shane says, Kelli, it's just really not my thing. He said, but you know who does love true crime? And I'm hanging on every word. And I said, who? And he said, my wife. And he said, let's call her right now. He said, and I'm going to bet you a beer that we interrupt a true crime podcast that she's listening to when we call her.
Tell me you got the beer.
I got a beer. So he calls her and he says, I'm here with Kelli Turner and Scott, and they're throwing around some ideas. What do you think? She tells him, yeah, I'm definitely interested. Katie doesn't get as excitable about things as Scott and I do. Right. So I imagine her response to Shane was more, yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's not like, oh my gosh.
Scott and I were getting animated, and talking. And so Easy Street is in the process of being, the vision is there. I don't know how much they had built at the time. It wasn't ready yet. But I said, I want to do this podcast. I want to record it on Easy Street because I want you to be my sponsor, and I want to call it True Crime on Easy Street. And Shane looks at me without missing a beat, and he goes, done. Mm-hmm. And in that moment,
right there.
In that moment, we had our sponsor and the team together. So for the next few months, Katie, Scott, and myself meet and we talk about our vision. Where do we want to go with this? How do we want to do this? We recorded that first episode probably 3 or 4 times trying to get...
We did too. We started in November. We didn't get an episode out till January.
So you feel me?
Yes.
How this goes. And we were like, gosh, we don't know what we want to do with this. We finally released our first episode April 20th of 2021. And we cringe when we hear it now.
Oh,
I didn't know what we were doing.
When it dropped, I was following. I was waiting for it to drop. And when it dropped, I was probably, I left a review right then. I listened to it. I was like, yes.
I was so proud. We were proud of it. And we go
yeah.
back now that we are looking at finishing up season 4, about to begin season 5. And first of all, we can't believe it. And secondly, we feel like we have a better flow. It's more of a casual conversation where someone actually shows up prepared and we just kind of go through it together. And the not a doctor, not a lawyer, mediocre journalist thing came about. Scott thought of that when he was talking to someone who had listened to the show that was a friend of his. And she said, you know, Scott, I know who you are, but I don't know the other two. And I would love for you guys to give a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourselves as you talk and have this conversation. So we started doing that bit by bit, little by little. And so now, if you've been listening, you know a lot of our likes and more importantly, a lot of our dislikes that we have.
Same.
So that's what it is. I am forever grateful for this experience and for having this, because not only am I doing something that is truly a hobby and so much fun, I have gained a brother and a sister. Mm-hmm. And if we quit doing it tomorrow, if they said, we don't want to do this anymore, we can't do it, and we shut her down, they'll be forever my brother and sister. I mean, until the day I die. So it was worth it for that.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, you knew Scott before you approached him. Like, y'all were pretty tight because they were all friends. Like, your husband.
Yes.
And also, every time Scott says KT, I think of my mom, because our mom's name is KT also.
Yes.
And so I was like, the first one was like, who's he talking about? He's not talking about my mom.
Yeah, that's my husband's nickname. It was his nickname all through high school. It's, you know, not really creative. His name's Kevin Turner, and they just started calling him KT. So that's, you know, that's his nickname. And that's, I think I'm the only person who just calls him Kevin.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've, you know, I say KT every now and then, but not usually to him. I'm usually.
You're KT also. Do you have the same, please tell me you have the same middle name, like the
initial.
letter. Yeah.
No, we don't. Yeah. But an interesting thing about us is his mother did tell me if he had been a girl, his name would have been Kelli. And
it was a match made in heaven.
Well, and my mother told me if I'd have been a boy, I would have been Kevin.
Oh my goodness. What are the odds?
So, yeah, we that's always been pretty neat to me. I don't know that he cares about that, but you know how men are.
Yeah. I don't know. He don't even listen to y'all's podcast, right?
Every now and then. But
we have non-supporters too.
No, Blake will watch on YouTube if I tell him we've talked about him. Like I told him, told him that Hunter said he planned our anniversary trip when Hunter was here last week.
Oh.
Hunter said, no, I planned the anniversary trip. And Blake said, I told him about it. And he was like, I'm waiting for that episode to drop. I'm like, it's already dropped, but he wants to watch the YouTube one. He doesn't like listening without seeing.
I like to see more than listen.
I do either one. I'll listen to it 3 times. I'll listen to our podcast 3 times. Like, jack the view or the listening up.
Oh,
on it.
yeah.
The plays.
Keep that on replay.
I always do that with us because I try to listen and see, what do I need to say less of? What do I need to say more of?
Right.
How can I improve? So I always try to listen. The first time I tuned in on Spotify and an actual real commercial played before our podcast. It was a Pepsi commercial. I'll never forget it. And it literally said, "This episode is brought to you by Pepsi." And they go through this commercial and I pull my car over because I'm driving to work. I pull my car over and I immediately start texting them because we have a True Crime on Easy Street text thread.
Yeah.
And I said, I just heard I had some colorful language in there, a Pepsi commercial. Oh! And so then they tune in and it was different commercials for them. So they're hearing different commercials and we're like, oh, we've done it. This is it. This is what we wanted,
Yes.
We have had producers and like podcast folk reach out to us and want us to sort of join and be a part of something bigger. We have made the decision not to do that because we lose creative control.
Right.
That's true.
It's like selling out. It's like giving them the rights to your.
We want it. It is small town Alabama. We want the small town Alabama feel. Small town Alabama doesn't have a cover charge or a monthly fee.
Right.
It's always free. And we want to keep it that way. And we want to keep it small. And every Sunday at 10 a.m. is when we sit down on Easy Street in Katie's office and record. And that's fun to us and it doesn't feel like a job and we don't want it to ever feel like a job. So we've made the decision. We knew going into this, it wasn't going to be a money maker for us. It's a hobby. So we wanted to make sure it continued to feel like a hobby.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I will say, like, we want this to be our job. Like, we
okay, that's
want to
awesome.
do this for the rest.
This
make money.
This has been something. I don't know if you've listened to some of our episodes, but like we're so close in age, and then we have another sister. But she was never kind of in that little thing that we did. We would sit on our mom and dad's bed, and they had one of those dressers that had the big mirror on it. And we would do like the Caitlin and Callie show. And this
we would just entertain ourselves and talk to the mirror as if there's 1,000 people watching us.
I love it.
Yeah. And it has just like over the years we've wanted to do. We've tried to start YouTube channels. Daddy would never let us start one. I understand that now. Having my own child.
Right.
But like we wanted to do this and we feel like we could do something.
Well, and we
with
always wanted to make like movies, like whether it was with our Barbies or our Legos, or I actually scripted a little movie one time. We got all our friends together, like had scenes, like we were doing it all. Like we've always wanted to do that kind of thing, and so we thought, well, we'll just do this, and hopefully it'll take off and it'll go somewhere.
I love that. I love dreamers. I love people who have the courage to dream and then step out on that. I commend you. I hope it takes off. I can't wait for it too.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you,
Yes.
because I've been wanting to know since I listened to the episode. What did you end up dressing up for Halloween?
Okay, yeah, because I got on my soapbox about
Yes.
theming a theme for Halloween. I ended up dressing up as Mrs. Roper from Three's Company. That's gone. No one knows. Some people
heard of the
know
show.
who that is. Many years ago, there was a show called Three's Company, and the landlord was Mr. Roper, and he was just a really cheap, crotchety old man. And his wife wore these flamboyant muumuu dresses, and she had this bright red hair and this big gaudy jewelry and these big glasses. And she was always trying to seduce him, and he just was not catching on, and he's just crotchety old man. So I dressed up as her, and I recently found out that that's a big thing in New Orleans for people there'll be 100 Mrs. Ropers going down the street. I gotta say, it's the most comfortable costume I've ever worn. And I've had some really uncomfortable ones over the years. Probably the most uncomfortable was the Bride of Frankenstein, where I literally had the big tall hair, And I went to 3 different Halloween parties that night.
Oh my.
And I am not kidding.
Hitting them up.
I had to open the sunroof and ride with the hair out all over town. I won every contest though. It was
you should
totally worth it.
You should have.
But Mrs. Roper was not a winner of anything. But my costume next year will be a winner.
Oh, you've already planned it?
I've already planned.
You already
it was
bought
what
the
I was
stuff?
going to do. It was what I was going to do this year, and then it just got shot because
You should have went against the grain and did it anyway.
I am next year. I've already said. I don't care
You
what
laid
the
it out on the
theme
table.
is. I'm going to be fill in the blank. We'll tell you next year.
Oh yeah,
I'll send
I'm
some
excited.
pictures.
What's your favorite thing that you've dressed up as?
Oh man, that's hard.
Because I can tell you what mine and Callie. Well, what mine is. Me and
Had
Callie
to-
dressed
I know what
up
you're gonna
as the
say.
Blues Brothers,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it was top notch.
Oh, I love
I
it.
mean,
Do we have a little dance choreography to
Oh,
go
yeah.
along with it?
because that was
love
like
it.
our favorite movie.
Yeah. Oh, what a great movie. Kevin and I one year went as the super fans from SNL, you know, the Bears, and we had all that on. And we had the fake mustaches and everything. I think though probably Statue of Liberty was my favorite one I had the long red hair, and that was a murder mystery party for Halloween at Shane and Katie's house. And I really overdid it for that, but it was fun.
But did you win?
I won.
Well, I
absolutely
mean,
won.
if you got to overdo it to win, do
It's
it.
worth it. Absolutely. Halloween is my favorite holiday. I love dressing up. I've done some community theater and things like that. So I love dressing up, being a different character, and just having fun with it. So I've done Miss Hannigan, which was my favorite community theater character I've ever played. Being able to verbally abuse children on stage and people laugh is fantastic.
What? Listen, forgive me if I don't know. What plays it? Is that Annie?
That's Annie.
Okay.
She's the bad guy in Annie. Yeah. And Will Bailey, you know Will Bailey.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Was
yes.
Daddy Warbucks. So we were kind of enemies during that, and we had a lot of fun.
when did y'all do this? Was it like a long time
It
ago?
was maybe 2018.
Okay, because
I'm
I was
not
like, we
doing-
went to
I
school.
know,
We went to a school play at the Methodist Church, or not a school play, but it was a play that the community, the theater center did.
Yeah.
And they took the school.
Yeah, I remember that.
What
they
did
took
y'all say?
center.
Which one was it?
It was, oh gosh, I was probably in 3rd grade.
Didn't
I mean,
Claire
I graduated in
Chestnut-
2018. Yes.
Wasn't she Annie?
Yes.
Oh, they did Annie Jr. Yeah.
yes, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, yeah, that was fun. We did a school production of Annie, and I remember doing my song down near the edge of the stage, and there's some people, some kids there, some high school students there, and they were kind of talking. And so in the middle of my song, I slam my hand down on the desk, and I lean in to them and just start singing the rest of my song. And I've never, their eyes were huge. It was so fantastic.
Probably didn't know what to think.
So it was awesome.
So you can sing.
I can character sing. Let me just say that. I'm not gonna, sing.
You're not gonna
with
be
a
on the big
band or-
karaoke
Oh no,
show,
no.
whatever it was that they did at Easy Street.
Right. I'm not gonna do that. But if you tell me to character sing as Miss Hannigan, this angry drunken woman, then I can usually pull that off.
So you can do the Disney songs in the car for sure.
Oh yeah, my steering wheel gets all kinds of concerts.
Yeah, I swear.
Me and Callie we'll be doing some old Disney stuff.
Or we'll do like Hamilton. Have you seen that?
Oh gosh, we are
Oh
big.
Well,
man,
the Hamilton
yeah, Hamilton's great.
I'm Hamilton. Callie is Burr.
Jefferson and Burr.
So y'all know all of that.
Oh, we know every
We
single
know
one.
the
Y'all
of them.
know like
battles.
I was about to say the
Hey,
cabinet
we can-
battles.
Oh yeah,
and
we
that,
can do the cabinet battles.
Yeah.
We have to leave the language out.
Yeah,
Just
there's
turn
some
that down.
language.
Just turn, we
Just
turn it
kinda
down,
turn
but
that down.
we'll do the pull his head out of a basket. You know,
There you go.
Yeah,
bruh.
Love it.
yeah.
I
We do
love
it. Sometimes if we can't agree on music, because like we don't have the same taste in music, but if it's Disney or Hamilton, hey,
Then
We'll
you
do that.
agreed. I love it.
I searched up like a pirated Hamilton, like the original cast, before they released it on Disney Plus. I had already found it on some random website. I watched the whole thing. I was like, yes. And then they released it like a year later. I was like, I could have waited and all that searching, but yeah.
Yeah, the Hamilton's a great one.
It is. Do we need to stop?
We'll just stop, and then we'll get her to tell her big story on a fresh start.
Okay, so tell us what made you want to start the podcast.
Okay. This story happened to me back in 2004. It started to grow my fascination with true crime and with just how people are fascinated with it, and just thinking about how to be safe and how difficult it can be for women and feeling safe. This is kind of what started all of that. Podcast wasn't really a thing. Maybe it was in 2004. I wasn't aware of it. But when podcasting sort of gotten really popular, this spurred me on, I guess. If spurred is even a word, I don't know.
We accept all words here.
Okay, perfect.
We don't discriminate.
Okay. So in June of 2004, I was 25 years old. And I was working at the same job I'm in now, but I was not in the administrative position. I'd been there about 2 years working. And our funding comes from the federal government. So that requires us to go to Washington, D.C. and go to different conferences and, updates on financing or standards or whatever. So I was in D.C. during this time. It was around June 8th through 11th kind of thing. I can't give you the exact date because, gosh, that was 20 years ago. But I know I was there then and around the 9th, because it was the day that Ronald Reagan's body was in D.C. He was laying in state, whichever the grammar is. And people were coming into D.C. from all over to pay their respects. His funeral was happening. I do know that on June the 11th is when President Bush said it's the National Day of Mourning. So I'm inclined to think this was around June the 9th when his funeral actually was there in D.C. The city was abuzz. People were coming in from everywhere. Roads were closed here and there. I'd been to D.C. a few times at this point, but I had never seen it this excitable because of this big event that was happening. So I was one of the 20 people trying to get out of D.C. that day. Everybody else was trying to get in. I was going to fly into Atlanta. I was meeting a huge group of our friends in Atlanta. We were going to have dinner, spend the night in Atlanta, and then fly out to Cancun the next day for a friend's birthday. Kevin had just opened a restaurant in Trussville, and he could not go on this trip. But we both agreed that I needed to go because it was a friend's birthday trip. There were several, probably 10 or 12 couples that are supposed to be going on this trip. So Kevin tells me, I talked to him on that day, and I'm still in D.C., and he says, okay, I talked to my friend. He's going to pick you up from the airport, take you to the restaurant, and then you can have dinner and then, hotel room and everything after that. Have a good time. Love you. Bye. So I get to the airport and the plane is delayed there. And I finally get on the plane and we sit on the runway for over 3 hours, just sitting there. Ugh. Don't know why we can't take off. Don't know what's going on. I have one of those old Nextel cell phones.
With the antenna that comes out the top.
It did, and it could also be used as like a walkie-talkie if you were in close enough range. Texting was not really a thing.
Because you had to hit the button like 80 times to get
to get somebody to notice.
You have to go back to it.
So I call the friend who's supposed to pick me up, and I tell him I'm not going to make it to dinner my flight's being delayed. I'll call you when I get to the airport. So sit there a little longer, finally decide it's going to be so late when I get into Atlanta. I call him back. They're still at dinner. And I tell him I will get a cab from the airport to the hotel because he said we're not far from the airport. So we agreed that that's what I would do. Okay. Finally, fly into Atlanta. Get down to baggage claim. Get my bag. And I'm walking towards the door of the airport. And an older gentleman approaches me. I'm about 5'8". He's shorter than I am. Smaller man. His accent is more like maybe Middle Eastern accent. And he asked me, he said, "Do you need a cab?" And I say yes. Because I've had such a long day of travel and I'm thinking this is going to be the one easy thing. And I'm finally going to get to the hotel and I'm going to be good. So we walk outside to where his car is parked, and it's not a yellow cab. That was the big thing then, a yellow cab. It was a blue car. I was so tired. This is 9:15, 9:30 at night. I couldn't tell you if there were any markings on that car. If it said taxi, if it said cab, if it said nothing, I really couldn't tell you. I just thought, I've got a cab. He takes my bag, he puts it in the trunk. I get in the back of the car, he gets in the driver's seat, and we take off. Uber was not a thing. Lyft was not a thing at this time. Mm-hmm. As we're driving and we hit the interstate, I don't even really remember which interstate we were on. There's several around that airport. We hit the interstate. The car starts to have trouble, and it breaks down on the side of the interstate.
Oh, no.
I pick up my phone, and I look, and of course, my battery's running low. Because of course it is, right? Of course it is. So I call the friend who was supposed to pick me up, but we agreed, no answer.
Oh, no. That's even worse.
This is like movie theater.
I'm like, insane. What happened?
It's insane.
Did she make it out?
Yeah. Yeah. Did she? I don't know. We'll find out. So he says, I need your phone.
Oh,
I need to call my son to come pick us up. Well, I've ignored. There's two big red flags that everybody's already screaming at me about. 25-year-old Kelli, what are you doing?
It's like the white people in a horror movie. Don't go in the shed with the chainsaws.
Yes. Don't get in the unmarked cab with the man who approached you in the airport.
And then he asks you for your phone?
And he gives you, and I say, I at least have some sense at this point, and I say, no, but I will call who you need me to call. What's the number? He gives me a number. And I say, no one's answering. There's like this answer machine. It's beeping. And he said, well, just leave a message. And so I'm like, I'm calling. Your dad's cab is broken down and we're sitting here on the side of the interstate. I say something vague like that. I don't even remember. I was mad at this point. This day had been too long. Okay. All right, so we've made the phone call. We've left the message. We're sitting on the side of the road. We can't just stand here or sit here. We're going to get run over on the side of this busy interstate. So he gets out, and there's a ramp near where we are that goes up, and there's an overpass, like over the interstate. Mm-hmm. So we decide, we're going to go up this ramp. So he gets my bag out of the trunk and starts rolling it up the ramp. And I'm like, what the heck? So I follow him, and I grab my bag, and I jerk it out of his hand and get it back. Now, I did that with ease. That gave me a little confidence because already I'm noticing I am 25 years old. I was working out regularly. I had not had any kids. I was fairly thin. had my 25-year-old working out body. But I was still bigger than this man. And I'm like, I think I can take you. When I pulled that bag away, thinking like,
he don't know what that
all
small
right.
town Alabama girl all about, does he?
Exactly. He was going to find out. But I pulled that bag and I said the stupidest thing. I said, my husband's souvenirs are in there. And I pulled the bag back.
That's what I'm worried about.
So hands off. So we go up this ramp. When we get to the top of the ramp and cross the road, we turn around. I'm facing the ramp that I just came up. To my left is a black abyss, like nothing. There's nothing to the left of me. There's a road. I can't see where it goes. It's probably 10 o'clock by now.
Yeah.
Total darkness. This way, back over the bridge, or the overpass, I guess you could say, I can see lights in the distance, and I'm thinking, that's probably the way I need to go. Because that seems like life, and over here is death, abyss.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and I try to call my friend who's supposed to be picking me up and helping me. No answer.
Oh,
What's the distance between you two?
Are you behind him? Like
Yeah,
We're
you
like-
say?
standing side by side at this point.
Like how close? Like close as me and you, or
Probably.
Okay.
Probably like that. We're just kind of standing there.
Okay.
And so I'm thinking, okay, who else is in this group? My friend Stacy. Now, she said I could say her name in this story, but not to say the last name, because she said anybody who knows us will know who you're talking about. So I call her number. She picks up. And I'm going, Stacy?
Come get me, girl.
And I tell her the bullet points of what's happening. And she says, oh, and says a word, because that's what everybody's saying. And she said, okay, hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. And she said, Kelli, I got to call you back. My phone's battery's low. Click. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is my lifeline. I'm going to make it. So
I'd be like, no, keep on the phone with me.
she calls me back and she said, okay, she got another guy and I told him what's going on and he thinks he knows where you are. So we're getting in my car right now. We're coming to get you. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Click. Because we can't stay on the phone, which is what we want to do because both of our phones are low in battery. This is before
Portable
chargers. There's no portable charger, right? And I didn't expect to be using my phone to this late at night because my flight was so delayed and anyway. So
And that's your lifeline.
It's my
You gotta
lifeline.
Keep what little battery you
Yes.
have.
Yes. That's and adrenaline is just kind of going. So we sit there and there is another ramp behind us coming from the other direction. And up this ramp comes a small white truck. The truck is so small, there's not a back seat. It's just a tiny truck.
Single cab.
It comes up very slowly and stops.
Oh no.
So I'm standing there, and the cab driver walks over to the truck, and he leans in to talk to the driver. I can see there's one driver in the vehicle. It's a man. I don't think there's anyone else in the vehicle. And then he comes back to me, the cab driver, and he says he'll take us where we need to go.
Heck no.
I sit down on top of my suitcase and I cross my arms across my chest and I said, no, I'm not going. My friends are on the way to pick me up. And he's getting pushy. He's like, no, he can take us where we need to go. And I decide at that point, the only way I'm getting in that truck is if they put my dead body in it. I knew at this point enough, you don't ever get in the vehicle. So
I'd be riding in the bed if I was getting in.
in the meantime, we're talking. Stacy calls me back, and I'm like, hello. Here's my friend.
Oh, you're 1 second away?
Yeah. And she said, she said, Kelli, I've got some bad news. We have made we've missed a turn. There's some construction.
Oh my
we got to come
gosh.
back around,
Ooh.
and it's going to be a minute. In my head, I'm screaming and crying. What I present to him is, oh, okay, good. So you're coming. All right, I will see you very soon. And she's catching on to what I'm doing. And she's like, I can't stay on the phone with you. I want to stay on the phone with you, but I can't. We're afraid we won't find you. I'm like, oh, no, you're good. You're almost here. I'll see you
In a
in
minute.
just a minute. And I'm looking back to where the lights are. And I obviously sold it because he stopped being pushy. He got in the vehicle and they drove away.
Praise God.
Now I'm sitting on my suitcase there under the one little light.
Street light.
The abyss is on my left. Maybe there's some light on my right. And I sit there and no cars come by. Nobody. There's no one. It is deserted.
Hey, I take that as a good sign.
I would too.
And I'm sitting there and I keep looking over to the abyss thinking
Something's
something
coming out.
Oh, it's just going to come and snatch me or kill me or whatever is going to come out of that. I think I sat there 20 to 25 minutes.
Oh gosh. And you didn't have the iPhone to play Angry Birds, so you could pass the time.
No, the Nextel phone had no games on it. And I couldn't have played them if I wanted to because it was almost dead. And that was probably the longest 20 to 25 minutes of my life. Until finally I look to my right and I see her car top that hill. And I just start hysterically laughing. Just hysterically laughing. And she says, we come over that hill and we saw you under the one street light sitting on your suitcase. And the guy that was with Stacy was like, there she is. Oh my gosh. They go past me. They do a U-turn to get back to my side. Stacy's hanging out the passenger window like, ah! She opens the back seat door for me and I just dive in head first. And she gets my suitcase in. She shuts the door. I'm not condoning this by any means, but she hands me a beer that's now warm because she got it for me when they left and it's taken so long. It's now hot. I drink the whole thing that fast. And she was like, do you need a cigarette? And
Yes, girl.
it's exactly what I said, and I lit one up. And I had not smoked for a long time. I did smoke at one point in time, but I had stopped. By the time I was 25, I quit smoking for probably about 3 years. But I smoked that night. And
Hey,
I
after
was
that traumatic experience,
I was flipping out.
probably needed a few oxys.
Oh my gosh! And the this is when everything kicked in. The terror and everything just kind of kicked in at this
Like,
moment.
it could have been much worse than it was.
Okay, right.
You can go ahead.
Okay, so fast forward, I end up getting to the hotel, getting on the plane to Cancun, having a nice time in Cancun. I don't miss an opportunity to throw shade at the guy who turns out had gotten too drunk at dinner and was sound asleep in his hotel room the whole time I'm trying to call him, you know.
Is he still one of your
help?
friends?
Yes, he is. And I don't miss an opportunity to throw shade. And he says, oh, it was probably fine, and that guy was probably a good Samaritan. And I said, there is a chance that is exactly what that was.
But as a female,
But there's also a chance that it wasn't. So fast forward about 2 years, and I'm still with my company that I'm with now, and I'm working a program with the Calhoun County Jail.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm talking to inmates about this. And I had a group of men that I worked with, and they were inmates at Calhoun County Jail. They were all types of offenders. Some of them were pretty violent offenders, some of them not. So I had a judge in that area that was trying to get reelected. And he was just sending anybody and everybody to that program to try to look good, even though they had promised me they wouldn't send violent offenders. But it turns out
I didn't care.
they were fine. The offenders were fine. They sort of protected me, like took it upon themselves to look after me kind of thing. And so we got to talking about this story one day. And I'm telling them this. And one of the guys looks at me and says, Miss Kelly, you know what that was, don't you? And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, let's think about this. And he breaks it down for me. And he says, he picked you because you were alone and you were a young female. And yes, I was 25, but just looking at me, I could have easily passed for 20 or 21. Today I'm 45 and I look 45. But at this point in time, I was young and I was carefree. I didn't have any kids. There was no stress. You know, you didn't realize I was an old soul till you started talking to me. When you just saw me, I was more the targeted age. He said he picked you because you were alone. You were in the airport. And he said, there is a good chance that all of that was on the up and up and you would have been there fine. But there's also an even better chance that all of that was staged.
Oh,
the
absolutely.
car,
Absolutely.
the truck coming up. He said, even you calling the answering machine could have tipped somebody off to a meeting point.
That's what I was thinking.
And he said, I feel like if you had gotten in that truck,
You had never seen the light of day again.
that would have been it for you. And this is back when it was starting to come out that I-20 was pretty much the human trafficking highway.
Oh, my Lord.
And I work with folks in Oxford, and I used to work with a girl who was on the team of folks where if the people who were designated on I-20 in that area came upon a truck full of people that they were trafficking, she was to act as the social worker for them. So I knew it was a thing. It was real. They had private groups, sectioned off and staged along I-20 because that's where they were shipping all of these people to and from. And I'm looking at this guy, this inmate who's telling me this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And he goes, no, I'm not kidding you. He said, I do believe you wouldn't be here if you had gotten in that truck.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's when I started talking to young females, talking to women, and saying, look around, listen to your instincts, the red flags, the warning bells, and how can we do better? How can we help each other as women? Okay? So, little things like in the world of iPhones now and Life 360, you can track people, but there are still some things that we need, like safe phrases, things that we can say that are a cry for help, but we're being discreet about it. Having a specific emoji. My daughter's in college. She has a specific emoji she can text me that is a call for help if she can't say help. Thank goodness I've not seen it, but we know what it is. And I constantly ask her, do you remember the emoji? Used to have a phrase when we would let the kids have some independence and leave them home by themselves, and I would call and check on them. And I would have a phrase I would say, and they knew to say back to me one phrase that means we're all good. Another phrase means help. Getting in an Uber or a Lyft and taking a picture of everything in there and the person and their information, or letting somebody know, hey, I'm in an Uber now, I'm in a Lyft, and I'm supposed to arrive at my destination at this time. I'll text you when I'm there. It's not taking away your freedom, is what I want to tell young women. It's not keeping you from being independent. It's helping you feel strong and feel
keeping you safe.
Safe, exactly. And it's a way for sisters to look out for each other.
And friends.
And friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I have not. We've been on Live 360 with Daddy being a, sheriff
Absolutely.
deputy or whatever. He was like Live 360. Driving Buddies was our group chat where we'd have to say, every time we got in our car to drive somewhere, we'd have to say where we were going. And when we got there.
Leaving from the high school, going to the Walmart.
Yep.
Leaving from the Walmart, going home.
And somebody had to answer, like Mama or Granddaddy, Mama or Daddy, or one of us when Carly started driving. And so, then we got Live 360 and Driving Buddies wasn't really as big of a thing or whatever, but I have not deleted it because I need it. I've got Blake on Live 360. Be like, oh, you tracking your husband? You want to know everywhere he goes? Like, no. I had too many nights that he went home and I didn't know if he made it home. And I had to, you know, like, you never know. Somebody could just something not as, I mean, it's scary, but like not worried about him getting kidnapped, but like worried about did he get in a car accident on the way home?
Yeah.
You know, and Life 360 will give you the crash detection.
Yeah, like
or
Life
whatever.
360 has so many options now. Like it'll detect a crash, or if you feel like you're in an emergency situation, you can push a button, or even like the iPhones, you can have the option to click your, you know,
Power button.
like 3 times fast, and it'll start counting down for an SOS.
Yeah.
And if you don't turn it off, it's going to send your location to the cops.
Yes.
So, but I do have to ask, why didn't you call the cops? You didn't think 911?
Nope. Never
like
occurred to
friends.
me. Never occurred to me to call anybody like that, because I think I was young enough and naive enough to not really truly register the danger.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I was so full of adrenaline that I was ready to fight.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not judging anybody who wouldn't have fought, or who didn't fight, or who got a gun pulled on them and got in the car, you know. And I had a decision that I had made. But honestly, if they had gotten aggressive with me, I really can't say what would have happened. But I knew that I was ready to fight and claw and scream and bite and do whatever I had to do to not get in that vehicle.
Right.
And that's all that was really going through my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
And it never occurred to me. Today, Kelli now, that would be the first number I call.
oh yeah, yeah.
Got to keep that Glock on you.
Would you still advise?
I have a SIG.
I've got a Ruger.
Oh, I have one of those too.
I have a little 380.
Yeah, I do too, but I prefer my SIG. It fires better.
If
Those
you were
380s
get
kick.
in that situation today, though, and you did call 911 first, would you be discreet about it, or would you let them know, like, I just called the police because I don't trust you? How would you think you should go about that situation? Because do you think they would try to expedite what they were doing if they knew you called the cops?
Wait, hold on.
I think in seeing their reaction and they left knowing that thinking that my friends were almost there, I will probably let them know that I did. And let them know that they're almost here. The cops, I just called the cops, they're almost here. To make them want to leave, to make them want to run. But I really, I'd have to almost say for you to double check that with your dad to see what he would say about that.
I
and
would
what be
think
the
bringing
best.
attention, like, for instance, Carly was followed a few months ago in Walmart. I mean, she went to random aisles that
Like
most
down the
men aren't going to
apparel
go.
aisles.
And
Gracious.
this man just kept following her. And here's the thing about him. You can't trust anybody. Like, this man was wearing a shirt with a cross on it that says, Jesus is my savior.
Yeah, but
Buddy was stalking Carly so hard. And Carly's not the type. Like, she's not like me and Callie. Or I'm very, like, timid. Like, I don't really like saying something to people. I'm not confrontational. But Carly is confrontational, and she will say something. But this man had her so scared, it never occurred to her to turn around and say, are you following me?
When
and like,
she got
bring
home-
attention to that person to run them off. That's what I've always heard, is bring attention to them. Make a scene. That's what Mama always told us was, if we were ever grabbed, you start screaming.
scream
as loud
fire
as
or,
can. Yes.
something where everybody's going to be looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Carly got home that night, she broke down, and I got upset for her because, like, that's always been a personal, like, people are afraid of spiders or sharks, and I'm afraid of spiders. Don't get me wrong, but being kidnapped or worse after you get kidnapped, always been my biggest fear. Like, that's why I don't watch the stuff. That's why I don't listen to podcasts. I can't.
Right.
It turns my stomach. It makes me sick, and I think, nope.
It's such a shame that as a woman, it's a very real fear to all of us, even though, we may not have been in a situation like that, but it's still a very real fear.
Yeah.
And I hate that happened to her. I will say this, if I were going to be a predator, I would wear a shirt like that so you would let
Yeah.
down your guard.
Yeah.
That's a
Exactly.
shame, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
That's how they operate, and it's really difficult. And I understand women can be predators too.
Oh,
I don't,
absolutely.
I don't pull any punches where women are concerned, but just the statistics are,
Yeah, they don't lie.
right.
Most of the time, the women are like accomplices. Like
Yeah.
they'll lure.
Oh yeah,
They'll lure a young girl out or a young man out, and then there'll be a man that.
Yeah. Our very first
can take
case
'em.
we did, Judith Ann Neely. That's exactly what she did to Lisa Milliken. She helped let Lisa's guard down and then brought her out to the car where her husband was there. And we know how that story
Yeah.
panned out. And that's, we pay attention to Judith Ann Neely's case. We follow when she's going to come up for parole, and we make sure that we know. We just feel like that's our pet case because it was so close to home, and we feel like we need to keep awareness alive about what she did and why she should never be paroled. She's a predator. She's a monster, and she doesn't deserve freedom.
No.
And, she's a woman who did that. And you're right. She was an accomplice. Some of the interesting thing I've seen recently, I've seen this in pubs or bars in women's bathrooms. I've seen it in multiple cities now. When you go into the bathroom and you close it, on the back of the bathroom stall, there's step-by-step information or instructions on if you are in danger, how to go up to the bartender and, quote, order a drink.
The angel
Yes.
drink
Yes.
or whatever.
And they'll have, some bars do the angel drink. Some of them do a different style of drink. And then the way that you order it lets the bartender know,
Like with a lime, I need the police or
I need an escort out to my car, or, something like that. And I think that's fantastic. At the airport, you go in the bathroom and you close the door, and on the back of the stall, it's a step-by-step instructions on what to do if you're a captive, if you're in this airport against your will, and who to go to in the airport and what to do. And it's such a shame that we live in a world that we have to have that. But it's how we look out for each other, and that's how we continue to do better and to help each other survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of that. When I see that, I think we've come a long way. We still got a long way to go, but I just want to encourage young women to be aware of your surroundings and use a little more sense than 25-year-old Kelli did. 25-year-old Kelli shouldn't have spoken to him in the airport, shouldn't have agreed. 45-year-old Kelli would say, get out of my face.
But also, 2004 was a different time than 2024.
True.
That was a time when, people didn't always lock their doors. You know?
Right.
So I'm going to give you some grace on that because,
Well, let me say this too.
you didn't feel like you lived in a world that way. Like with
Right.
us, and I think this is where my true crime obsession started, is with Mama. And the first case I remember her ever telling us about was Adam Walsh. And you remember that? Mm-hmm. And Mama would
the
say,
kid in Walmart?
I think he was in Walmart or the mall or Sears or
video
something.
games?
He was, I don't know. He was in Sears or something, and he ended up getting kidnapped. And they killed him or whatever. But Mama, she had me scared with that, and she was like, "You have to keep your head on a swivel." And I
She
learned.
also said, "You stay with me the whole time. Like
Right.
you don't get out of my sight, and you won't get out of mine." You know,
Right.
And we didn't go hiding under the clothes racks.
Mm-hmm.
We knew better, and we knew that there was always a possibility that you could get kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in some sense, in 2004, 2005, it was starting to be a world where it is like it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just always I watch. And
Mm-hmm.
if I go out, we went out with one of my friends for her birthdays in Huntsville, Jensen. You know Jensen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We had a couple of our friends. There was guys coming up, and they were just trying to hand people drinks. And me and my other friend Abby were like, "No, you're not handing her a drink."
Right.
She was toasted. She was gone. She was just taking one. And we're like, "No." And we just grab them and throw them in the trash. And they're like, "Oh, well, I just bought that." And I'm like, "Well, you could have roofied it. You got to watch out." You know, because you never know.
Yeah.
And that was another thing Mama said. If you ever, no matter what kind of drink it is, like if you don't watch them make it yourself, you don't drink it.
Yeah. Keep it with you too. Like I said, I got a daughter in college and she's 19, but I got her one of those Awala water bottles, if that's how you say it, but they close. Well, it's
yeah.
it closes and locks. And I said, look, I'm not so naive as to think you're not going to go to a college party and there might be drinking involved. But if there is, make your own, put it in this. I said, you don't even have to put alcohol in it because no one will know. They'll just think it has, you know, if you don't want to drink alcohol, but, and then you keep it closed and you keep it with you at all times. And, we talked about that a lot, before she went to college. It was so difficult for me not to watch Life 360 constantly that first year. I've finally been able to kind of back away and give her some space and myself a little sanity, you know, just from being terrified. But we put all that in place. I left on her pillow when we moved her into the dorm. I left a little gift on her pillow, and it had a sparkly pink taser.
Oh yes,
Pink pepper spray, and a bright pink personal alarm that I checked it at the house to make sure it worked, and it was so loud the cat hid for like 3 hours and I couldn't find her.
And then when you turn them on, you can't get them cut off.
Where?
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Frog gave us one of those, and I accidentally hit the button at work
School,
one day.
I did it at school. And
so
everybody's
loud.
like, what are you doing? I was like, sorry, that's my safety thing.
Yeah. So I think that is, you know, and all of those things neatly fit in her purse or backpack or, you know, whatever. And just, you know, if you're going to, people like to meet people online and date that way and, you know, meet in a public place, bring your pepper spray.
I also think if
Hold
you're
on,
going to...
If you're going to meet someone online and date, you know, meet somewhere public for the first time.
I think too, and I never would have thought about it had I not watched One Tree Hill. You know what I'm talking? You watched that? Okay, well, Peyton is one of the characters, and she met somebody she had never met that was supposedly her brother or whatever, but she'd never heard of him before. Anyway, but she brought another guy that she knew there.
Oh.
Didn't sit at the same table, but he was in earshot to know something was wrong going on.
Yeah.
So I thought about that coincidentally today, and I thought that's a good idea. Like people should do that more often. You know, whether it's a guy or a girl, you know, going out to meet, whatever, but like you should always have somebody else there with you to immediately save you instead of letting things happen and get too far before you can't be helped.
Right.
But I was going to say earlier, too, I also think, you know, like, it was terrible what happened to you, you know, but maybe it happened for a reason for you to be able to tell people how to be aware and be more aware with your family, you know, like, and keep your family more aware and just, you know, just spread the awareness to anybody who's able to listen or whoever you can tell because, you know, you got away from that.
Yes.
For a reason, and maybe you've already helped whoever you've told. Maybe you've already helped them to be aware and get themselves out of a situation before it even got close to being that far.
Yeah, I sure hope so. I feel there's a little bit of guilt because I think who am I that I was lucky enough to get out of that, and why weren't others able to do that? And but I really hope so. I really hope that someone can hear this and learn from this and just, you know, not even get themselves in the crazy situation that I got myself in to make the smart decision from the get-go.
Yeah.
Not that people who are taken don't make a smart decision. Some people can't help it. I mean, it's just...
Sometimes the moment gets caught up and you might not be thinking so clearly. Like you said, you might have something going on that day that you just slipped your mind.
Yeah.
To think, hey, this is not right.
And they're good. They know how to look for someone who's distracted or who's... you know,
this ain't their first rodeo. That's for sure.
Exactly. So I think that being able to do this and talk about this is a gift. And I don't take it lightly. I do not. 20 years later, I don't take it lightly that I got to still be here, and I got to have a family, and I got to, see my daughter off to college, and so many young girls and young women didn't. And that breaks my heart. And it makes me want to keep fighting and keep talking about it and keep bringing up true crime and keep people aware because, women, we're sick and tired of it. And it's time to fight and to help each other and just, try to stop it before it even starts.
Right.
And my thing is, it doesn't just happen to women; it happens to men too. And I've got to where now I have my own child. I watch other people's children.
Yeah,
I am very aware, and it's really sad because we went to a place in Chattanooga when we took our baby for her birthday, and there was a lot of parents in there not watching their kids, and I'm just like, this is a place where there's a lot of people in Chattanooga.
Yep.
It was like that at Dollywood too. There was this kid that was like right beside me, and her parents were like probably 10 feet away, and I thought, please go to your mom.
Honestly, it doesn't matter if it's in Walmart. Like, I have chewed Blake up one side and down the other for leaving the buggy just to walk from the buggy, maybe from here to the corner of that wall over there to go get milk out of the container, whatever, like or the refrigerator, like. I'm real particular. Like, I keep my hand on the buggy. I don't look away from the buggy. Blake's like, oh, well, you got to look over here. And I'm like, no.
Well, you can put your hand
she's
on her.
more important. Like, not that he doesn't think she's important, but he didn't realize until I told him. Like, I think I got on to you or Carly one day. She was in the Duna, and you I think it was you. You walked away from the stroller, and I was like, oh, no. I can get away with her.
But even if he's looking at something else, like, he could keep his hand on her and still look
and he
away.
does now. Like, he doesn't leave the buggy. Like, I'll be like, I'll go get that. You stay right here with her.
Right.
And like, I won't go anywhere with her by myself because I'm not. Like, I'm a small girl, and between me and having to carry a baby in a bag, like, that's probably where somebody could get me the easiest. Like, between me and a kid.
Yeah.
So I don't even go to the Walmart by myself with her because I'm so scared, and especially after Carly had her little incident. Like, I'm very aware of where I'm going and who I'm going to be with.
And it's a shame too. Like, you can't even help people. Well, I mean, you could, but like, I don't even want to help anybody anymore. If somebody looks like they need help, I'm sorry. I won't do it.
Yeah,
I might
so
do
hard.
it in the store. In the pure, lot. There's a lot of people around. I don't mind helping.
Yeah.
Outside, at the car, no, I'm sorry. I'm not putting your buggy up for you. I'm not helping you put groceries in the car. Like, I'm not helping you do anything. I'm sorry. I hate it, but I just can't.
And I totally understand that. And, there's a thing in New York or in the bigger cities where people would act like they were being robbed, and you would go to help, and then you're the one actually being robbed. And it's so sad. And I'm just like, man, I want to be a good Samaritan, and I want to help. We just have to be wise about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's so unfortunate. It really is. But anyways, that's the story of Kelli's crazy night in June of 2004, and Stacy being her hero and saving her because the person who was supposed to help was sound asleep. So there you go.
Thank you, Stacy. Shout down to you.
Shout
whoever
down
you are.
to that person, and shout out to Stacy. I'm forever grateful about that night.
How mad was Kevin at you and at the guy?
He didn't want to hear the story. He didn't want to talk about it for several years.
Oh, wow.
Would shut down the conversation.
He was deeply.
Yeah.
After the initial first time you told him,
Yeah.
is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
That probably would have brought him to tears.
Yeah. He did not want to talk
Probably why I
about
didn't
it.
want to talk about it.
Like, coming over here today after work, I've talked to him a couple of times, and he's like, now remind me again where you're going and where is that? And
it's just Bo Jolly's kids.
yeah, and I recognize that as he still, after we've been together for 23 years, he's still looking out for me.
Yeah.
I don't take it as an insult or a frustration. I'm proud that
He's not being controlling. He's being protective.
yeah, he's still looking out for me and still my my protector after 23 years. So I think, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for coming on here and telling us about your traumatizing story.
Yes,
Thank y'all so much for having me. I've enjoyed it. You have a great setup here. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank
I
you.
love it.
We've enjoyed it also.
Yes.
I'm sorry I don't listen to your podcast.
Oh, that's okay.
can't.
I understand.
We'll have to get Katie on here next time.
Oh,
She gets to where she can. I know she's very busy with her law school and stuff.
yes.
How long does she have left? A couple years?
Couple years, I think, and a semester, like 2 years in a semester, maybe. Yeah.
I
Not too bad.
couldn't do it.
I know. I don't know how she does it. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's like Callie was doing school and maintaining this house, maintaining what she needed to at home, and then doing the podcast too. I was like,
working at Walmart.
Yeah,
working at
working.
NDA.
yeah, she was working 2 jobs. I was like, wow, she was a big boss dog for that.
Hated my life at that time. But we got it. We made it. So
I think I don't have any. Do we have any shout outs or anything? Do we need to? Casey, I don't know if we mentioned it last time, but Casey subscribed to our Patreon, so thank you, Casey.
yes.
And Callie's birthday, by the time y'all hear this, it'll already be over, but Callie's birthday's Wednesday, so if y'all want to
happy birthday.
shout her out or whatever,
Thank
hit her up on her Facebook Messenger, I don't know, but her birthday's on November 20th, and she'll be, how old are you going to be?
23.
23! Woo!
Yeah, what
Gosh!
you think I was gonna say? You should know.
Oh, for some reason, I thought you were going to be 22. I'm sorry.
22. Yeah. No.
Don't bring Taylor in here.
No,
Please.
I'm-
Get her
I'm
out.
always like a year behind you, and then you skip 2 ahead of me. You know
That's
what
right.
I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah. Anyways, y'all, thanks for watching. We're still taking ads, doing commercials if y'all want them. And I think that's all. Subscribe to the Patreon.
Oh, we need to shout out True Crime on Easy Street.
Yes, y'all go listen.
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify. That's the preferred platform. It is free. You don't have to have a subscription to Spotify to be able to go on and listen to it.
Right.
They do have paid options, but you don't have to have it. Or Apple iTunes or your favorite podcast platform, whatever it is. We're there.
There you
Y'all
go.
go listen to them. Thanks for watching. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Callie.
I'm Kelly.
This has been Beyond 21. Bye, y'all.